In this video, I'm going to explain the concept of a short squeeze, since I have received a question from one of my viewers if I could try and explain what a short squeeze is, and specifically related to the company called Gamestop. So I will dedicate this entire video to this matter, because not only are we seeing a short squeeze, we are also seeing what is known as a gamma squeeze. If you don't know any of this investing related lingo, then please follow along this video, since I will try and explain them in as much detail as I deem necessary if you don't know anything about it to begin with. So if we take a look at this stock chart here, you have a regular stock and you can see it has been trading almost flat, or what occurs to be flat, until we hit January. I mean, you don't even notice that the stock here has gone from around $4 and all the way up to 18 within half a year, because that is nothing compared to what has happened since 4th of January, where the stock went from 18 and all the way up to 347. So let me start by introducing the concept of a short. If you short a stock, that means you are selling the stock today, but you have to buy the stock back at a predetermined time into the future. Effectively, when someone shorts a stock, then they are betting on that the stock will fall in price in the future in order to gain a profit, since they are selling higher today and try to buy back the stock in the future at a lower price. If we then go one more step down on this road, then typically a shorter do not own the stock that they actually go short. They borrow it from a lender, and then they pay a rate back to the lender and have to buy back the stock at a predetermined time into the future. So that's basically the concept of a short. You're selling something which you do not own, and you pay a rate to borrow it from someone, and then you have to return it at a predetermined time into the future. But what happens if the stock then go dramatically up in value when you have to deliver the stock back? This is where we enter the concept of a short squeeze. You are simply being squeezed out of your short position, because it will now be too expensive for you to buy back the stock and actually return it to the borrower where you have lent it initially. So now you cannot pay back the interest, or it will be too expensive for you to buy back the stock. So you will try and run as fast as you can to buy it back to minimize your loss, and that is just forcing the price up even higher, since now the demand for the stock is increasing. And this of course keeps escalating when you're not the only one who has the short position. Then you can see if one shorter is forced to buy back the stock, that is driving the price higher. Then another shorter is seeing that the stock is going even higher up in value, forcing that shorter out of the stock as well. So the more short positions there are in the stock, the higher it will actually drive the price. So how does this relate to GameStop? Well, if you take a look at this list, this is a list of the most shorted stocks in the United States. And you can see that GameStop here has 97.68% of the stocks which are short, meaning that 97.68% of the stocks must be bought back no matter what the price is. And what is really important to note here is days to cover. That means within the next 6.31 days, 97% of the stocks must be bought no matter what the price is. But in this particular case, that is actually not enough to explain the huge increase in prices we have seen. What is also driving the prices is that there are a lot of people simply just buying the stocks. That creates even more demand and less supply drives the prices higher. And on top of that, then there are people who is using these weapons of mass destruction, as Warren Buffett called them, namely derivatives, and in this particular case, options. So in this particular case, they are buying what is known as call options, meaning they are buying the right to buy the stock at a predetermined price sometime into the future. So let me try and illustrate what a call option is here. So basically, when you buy a long call option, that means you have bought the right to buy the stock at a predetermined price sometime into the future. So if you, for instance, had paid $5 to be able to buy the stock for $50, that means if the stock trades at $50, then you are left with a loss of $5 since that is the premium you have paid for your option. But now as the stock starts to increase in price, then you can see that the value of your option starts to increase. And what you notice is here, you have a limited downside on your option, meaning you can only lose your premium, namely the $5, but there's unlimited gain potential on your option. So if you have bought an option on Gamestop for $5 and are allowed to buy the stock for $50, and you now see that the stock is trading at $340, then you have made a lot of money on that. But why is this called Weapons of Mass Destruction by Warren Buffett? Well, if you have to pay $50 if you want to buy the stock, now if you buy the option instead, then you're only paying $5, meaning that your purchasing power is now multiplied by 10. But how does that create extra demand for the stock? Well, who are you buying this option from? You're typically buying the option from what is known as a market maker, and that could, for instance, be a bank. And what the bank do not want to see is that they have an unlimited loss potential on the option that they have sold to you. So what do? They do something which is called hedging, and that means that they actually buy the underlying stock, and as they buy the underlying stocks when they're selling more options, that increases the demand for the stock and forces the prices even higher. So if you can start to sense, we are seeing the perfect storm here, but how can we increase it even more? Well, how about someone who is buying these call options, but instead of paying a hefty premium of 5 saying, oh, I will only make money if the stock hits more than 55 in value. Well, let me buy an option where I only pay 2.5 in premium, but where I will only make money if the stock increases to more than 62.5. Well, now I can buy twice the amount of call options, and I will make even more money if the stock just increases sufficiently. So now the market maker will have to go out and buy even more of the stocks. And as you can see here, demand is just increasing and increasing and increasing. And on top of these options, there are actually a lot of people who is not only buying for the money which they own themselves, they are taking a loan to buy even more options. They are using what is called leverage. So they are speculating heavily in this stock increasing even more in value. So this was just an attempt for me to try and explain the technical things which are currently going on with this Gamestop stock. So now let me try and go back and explain the situation with Gamestop and how we actually ended up in this situation. So where did this story actually start? I will say the story starts with Melvin Capital, which was founded in 2014, and they have actually done a tremendous job in terms of creating huge returns for their investors, since they have averaged more than 30% on annual basis since 2014. So naturally, a lot of people were paying attention whenever Melvin Capital was making moves. So that simply led to a lot of people were copying what Melvin Capital was doing. So Melvin Capital started a short position in GameStop back in 2020, since GameStop is this business where they actually sell physical computer games from physical stores. And Naturally, this does not look to be the most prosperous business as we go into 2021 and onwards, since most games are now sold virtually. So being a hedge fund, they did what hedge funds do. They try to make as much money as they possibly can. So they say, well, this is a bad business, so we will do short positions, meaning we are betting heavily that they will lose a lot of money. And since a lot of people were copying what Melvin Capital is doing, that led this short position to increase to more than 100%. So what happens is, on this Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets, there were some investors, private investors, who snapped up this information and was really eager to see if they could squeeze out Melvin Capital of this short position by buying a lot of the stocks, increasing the price dramatically. But why did these retail investors or ordinary investors like you and me wanted Melvin Capital to lose a lot of money? Basically, they blame investment funds or hedge funds for the economic crisis that we saw back in 2008 and 9, forcing a lot of people out of their homes and into poverty. So they decided to say, well, let's stick it to them and see if we can give them back some of their own medicine in their own game. And as you can see from this news article from January 27th, 2021, you can see that these ordinary or retail investors was actually successful in squeezing out Melvin Capital from their short position in Gamestop, forcing them to lose more than $3 billion. I will of course include a link in the description below to this article. So hopefully you now better understand what a short squeeze is and why we are seeing these drastical increases in the prices, since this is not just a short squeeze but also an option squeeze. And once this demand wears off, wherever that may be, if it is in 6 days or within a month from now, then we will probably see the stock trading back at its more normal levels, whether that is around 4 or whether it is around 18 or 40, I don't know, but definitely way below these values which we are currently seeing. And why do I feel so confident saying that these stock prices cannot be maintained? Well, that is basically the definition of a short squeeze. Once the demand wears off, a lot of people will then want to sell the stock at these tremendously high prices, but there will be no one who wants to buy them. We saw this with Volkswagen back in 2008. I will of course leave a link in the description below to an article there. The situation was not exactly the same as GameStop, but what was similar was we saw that there was more stocks shorted than there was stocks available in the market, meaning they were basically creating this infinite loop where people have to buy stocks which are not available, forcing the price to increase to ridiculous prices. So hopefully that answered your question about what a short squeeze is, and in particular the situation regarding this GameStop stock which we're currently seeing. That was at least the intention from my side. So hopefully you like content like this, then please consider leaving a like or leaving a comment or subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And until I see you next time, bye!